What's up, everybody? We're here with another Real Talk episode. That's what we're going to call it now. Real Talk episode today. Basically, where I'm just going to be talking off the cuff. I have no script. The closest thing I have is like I got a couple of bullet points here, like up on my computer with like Notepad, just to make sure I don't forget what I have to say and staying on topic and stuff like that. But yeah, there's going to be very minimal cuts, very minimal edits, aside from just wanting the thing to move faster. But yeah, man, otherwise, this is just me talking about something that I think is very pervasive in the jazz community. I'm sure exists in other communities as well, but this is the community I know the most. And one of the things that I think is holding back individuals, but also the community in general on all levels and all facets, we're talking about from young to old, whatever, it's just general mentality stuff. We're talking about people calling themselves bad, and I'm kind of tired of it. Now, this may seem obvious, I guess, but there's a couple of reasons why this bothers me and why I think that a lot of people need to really stop doing it, because we all know that it's not good. Like, as soon as you bring it up in a circle, like, yeah, I know I shouldn't be calling myself bad, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, then why do you keep doing it? Well, there's a couple of reasons why I think people do it, and also I think a lot of reasons why you should stop and how you can stop. I have kind of three main points I'm going to be talking about in here, but as I talk, there's probably going to be a lot more. And if you have any other things you want to add, of course, you can always comment after this video is done. But I guess let's just jump into what I think is the issue with all of this. So once again, pardon in advance for this video not being as organized as it should be, because again, this is just real talk. This is me speaking my mind. But just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, for those of you who may be new to the jazz community, maybe new to the instrument, or maybe just not in jazz school where this stuff mostly happens, or maybe not in circles where you might have a community and people are just saying stuff, right? If you don't really know what happens, let me explain it to you. So a lot of times when, this happens, actually, now that I think about it, this does happen in classical music a lot too, but it's a little bit different of an issue, but you can still take the advice. So what'll end up happening is you get a compliment, right? You play the show, you get a compliment. And then somebody says, man, you sounded great. What's the first thing? Anybody who's been in this situation, either on the receiving or the giving end, all of y'all can tell me, what is the first thing that normally happens? I wish I could just wait and you could just type it out, but you already know what happens, because what ends up happening is this person is like, nah, man, nah. Somebody tells you sound good and your first response is, nah, man, I guess really. So as the person giving the compliment, how do you think that makes them feel, right? And actually, I want to talk to some, because maybe even musicians may have noticed this too. It's this kind of weird unspoken thing that we have to learn how to do. Teachers don't teach us this. Our friends don't teach us this. The system doesn't teach us, the gigs. Nobody teaches us this. But somehow we've learned socially that we need to just say, like under the guise of humble, which I'm going to talk about later, on the guise of being humble, as soon as you give a compliment, you have to expect that the person is going to say, nah. Like, nah, they're going to kind of reject it. They're not really rejecting. They're just trying to be humble, right? Or again, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But there's this weird thing that we all have to go through where that person is expected to say that, and we have to be expected to respond to it in a favorable way. Like, we have to try to encourage them. Like, no, seriously, like, you really sounded good or something. I don't know. There's some kind of weird script. Maybe I should have planned that before I made this video. But there's some kind of weird script that always ends up happening. Yeah, man, you sound great. Oh, no, man, I'm trying to work on my sound. I'm really, and then it's like, oh, well, how many of y'all who have given those compliments feel weird? Like, how many of y'all who have given those compliments? We talked a little bit about the people getting them. What about the people giving them? Have y'all felt weird? Have some of y'all as musicians even, or non-musicians, whatever, who's watching this video, felt weird when someone said that and try to figure out what should you say back? Because you just wanted to tell somebody they sound good. Well, there's one big reason that I can find. There's a bunch of reasons, but the one that comes to my mind the most is that because as jazz musicians, we're constantly pushing for excellence, right? Let me speak from the positive point first. So from a more positive or neutral standpoint, as jazz musicians and classical musicians, any type of art music where we kind of start from when we're like 3 to 5 to 8, 10 years old, whatever, really young as kids, and are constantly working at it, building little by little incremental developments, right? At each incremental stage, we're taught that there's 5 or 10 even bigger incremental stages that we have to push through in order to get to this masterful place in our playing, right? So, of course, it's going to be understood and understandable when you're constantly pushing for something and you're constantly measuring yourself up to other people or to this grand idea, to the masters, to your teachers, friends, whatever, even your own recordings of yourself. You're constantly trying to measure yourself up. So I get how it feels, like there's a thing that you're trying to get to. And so a lot of times people will feel like if someone gives them a compliment, it makes them feel like, man, but I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I actually sounded good. I don't feel this kind of way. Well, listen, that's okay. And again, we're going to address that in a little bit, but I just want to set the stage for like a more positive place that can come from. Like just giving the person receiving the compliment the benefit of the doubt. So I understand that. Now, once again, that's me talking about it from understanding the perspective of someone who also has gone through that and has felt that, because I was like that when I was younger as well. There's a constant pressure to measure up to the people that we're standing on the shoulders of. We're on the shoulders of giants, and we're constantly measuring up to people trying to be the best that we can be. But there's a lot of negatives to that. And what I want to get into right now is what I think are the most harmful things or the most harmful repercussions that can come from saying this kind of stuff about yourself and why you should change it. So we should all understand by this point, or if you don't, maybe by the end of this video, you will, that at least it is kind of a bad thing you shouldn't do, right? We know that at least it is. But if you don't know why, well, here are some reasons that I believe that it is potentially harmful to even say these words. Just saying them. Thinking them is one thing, but saying them is even worse. And here's why I think that it's like that. So the first thing I want to talk about here is how I think one of the most obvious ways that it can harm you is it can harm your image. Like saying these types of things, calling yourself bad, all that kind of stuff, it can harm your image. It'll harm what other people see in you. It'll harm what you see about yourself. It's a negative affirmation, right? But in terms of the way other people see you, I see this as a problem because one thing that I think was so interesting, those of y'all who may have grown up in the church like I did, if you had like one of the old church ladies, like one of the mothers of the church or like a deacon or somebody coming up to you and they ask you if you play an instrument, like you say, oh, I play the saxophone. And then usually they might say, oh, are you good? But this doesn't even have to be church. It might be any place. Maybe it's more common in old school. I don't know if people really say that anymore, but they might ask you, are you good? And you can't say no. Can you imagine if somebody say, oh, you good at it? Are you good at saxophone? What? So somebody who came from jazz school, right? Or somebody who came from the community where we have to kind of push back and stay humble, the whole time. They might be like, listen, if you say that to somebody who really has no ill intent, like they're asking you, are you good? So that means that they don't have any bad intentions. They're not trying to like trap you by saying, oh, he said he's good, he's not humble. Like, no, they're genuinely trying to know, are you good? Can you play the thing? Maybe there's a little bit of playful kind of competition, maybe in there, playful doubt, cynicism or something, like where it's like, can he play? But at the end of the day, if you say that, if you say no, that's going to put a weird image in their head. They're going to think you're not confident. They may not judge you in a negative way, but they're not going to think that, I don't know. Maybe that's just how I grew up. I don't know. Maybe this is what I said. But I think that it's important to at least learn how to stand up for yourself. You know what I mean? When someone asks you questions like that, you got to be able to stand up for yourself without being a jerk. Obviously, it's going to be different if somebody asks you, hey, you're good, and you're like, yeah, I'm all right. It's not like I'm the best in the world or anything, but I might be. You're not saying anything like that. You're just saying, yeah, I think I can play. I'll put in my work. I think I'm pretty good. That's okay. That's fine, right? You can say something like that. But in jazz, there seems to be this thing because especially, and this might be a little time that I'm going to take a little aside to talk about my prodigy peoples, right? My people who kind of like me grew up playing above average of the normal, kind of middle school, high school age range, right? And we're constantly taught to be humble. So anybody watching this video right now who may have gone through any level of this, maybe you played your scales fast, and maybe you're not like a super crazy prodigy playing giant steps at 6 or something. I'm not gonna name no names, but you're maybe not doing that, but maybe you played your scales a little faster than the rest of your class. So, and you played the parts better than everybody in your class. You weren't like world-class musician, but you felt this pressure that you had to lower yourself down to not threaten the other people around you. That's where a lot of this comes from, man. I know this feeling very well. I'm almost, this real talk is almost turned into like a therapy session, but I'm not going to let it go there. I'm basically just trying to say that I know that feeling of having to kind of lower yourself down so that other people don't feel threatened by your skill and your ability. But let me be the first person to tell you right now that everyone telling you to keep your head in order, like while you're young, until you stay humble, that does not mean to stop being confident in yourself. That's not what that means. They're not going to teach you that because it's hard to. They want to keep your head in check, especially if you're in danger of thinking that you're better than everybody else in life. It's more of about, it's more about just understanding that you have something that you should be proud of. Because even no matter what kind of talent people say you got, you still have to practice. I still had to practice. I still have to practice today. Like when I'm done with this video right now, like I got other stuff to do, but I know I'm gonna feel like practicing because I've been working on some other scales recently. I've been doing stuff in fourths and fifths like I haven't done before. But there's always the understanding is that there should be always something you have to work on, which is cool. But you still gotta have some kind of confidence in yourself. And so I think the issue that ends up happening is that when we're told to be humble, sometimes we end up putting extra on it that doesn't need to be there. And so my advice in that way to kind of correct that is just to learn how to, understand what your ability is and understand socially what's appropriate to say. And sometimes people think the most appropriate thing to say to kind of keep themselves safe is to put themselves lower and to stay like, there's a difference between being humble and having low confidence. Just remember that. And that's actually going to lead into the next point that I'm talking about. Again, sorry this isn't as organized, but it's harmful to your self-confidence, as I just said. So this is not even just about how other people see you. Now we're talking about you creating like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So this is harmful to your self-confidence because if you are working on something, you're trying to be the best. You're not even trying to be the best. You're just trying to be the best you can be. You really like John Coltrane. You really like Herbie Hancock. You really like, J.J. Johnson, whoever. You like Buddy Rich. And you really want to play like them because you hear things you like from them and they inspire you. Okay, well then go for it. You can always go for it. But what happens when you're going for it and you don't quite reach it yet, but then you have a show coming up and you've been playing, I don't know, let's say you've been playing drums for 5 years, right? You've been playing drums for 5 years. So, oh no, you know what? Let's say this. You've been playing drums for 3 years. Let's go even shorter, right? If you're playing drums for 3 years, you're kind of still relatively a beginner, right? If you're young, right? If you're like in high school or something. So if you go play a concert, the concert is probably going to be more fun because your music is still new to you. So how many of y'all remember that first concert you had when you were like 11 or 12 years old or something? And it's like, it's really nerve-wracking when you got to take a solo, but you're not thinking about all these extra things. They're not in your head. It's like you're still playful. But then if you fast forward like 5 or 6 or 7 years, all of a sudden you're starting to see what the actual upper echelon of stuff is, right? And maybe you're taking it from the other way. Maybe you're not the best player. Maybe you're not the ahead of your class or whatever. And you're not those cats that got to kind of dumb down their humility or something to come down to you. Maybe you just genuinely are trying to get better. Okay, well, here's the thing. If you play a concert, and let's go back to the example we gave in the beginning. If you play a concert, right, and someone tells you after the concert that you sound good and you did something great or whatever, please do not say, nah. Because here's the reason why you have to realize why you shouldn't do that is because at that point, 7 years into playing the drums, you're like 18, 19, 20 or whatever by now. And at that point, you know how much more you can play from when you're from 7 years since 3 years of playing? So the amount of stuff you can play from 7 years of playing, that's 4 years of growth you've had between the three years of playing. So 4 years ago, that's 4 years of growth. So you should take the compliment. You gave somebody meaning. It doesn't. And another thing that people like to say, which harms the self-confidence. So some of y'all might need to hear this. Another thing that people like to say is, "Oh man, the audience don't know nothing. Oh, they're your mom, they're your dad or your cousin, whatever. Of course they're gonna think you sound good." Like that. We gotta get these things out of our head, dude. It's hard. I'm saying that because I used to think that when I was 16, man. I'm not gonna say who, but I had a relative when I played for Wynton Marsalis. I don't want to go into this whole story, but the long story short is that we didn't have enough money to get a ticket, and for the show that Wynton Marsalis and Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra had in South Florida, and basically through some extreme encouragement from my mother and then my friend Marcus Howell, his father, they egged me on to play my saxophone, and then went and gave me a free ticket like that on the spot. He was impressed with what I was able to do. He was so impressed with what I was able to do that he gave me a free ticket. That's crazy. Now in my head, I'm 16. I'm just like, man, I don't want to do that, man. Like, cause I I feel like I know how good these guys can play, right? I know how good I can't measure up to that. I don't want to, but I ended up playing for him. And he gave me a free ticket, and then I got a lesson with him. Me and Marcus both got to go backstage and get a lesson with him. And that changed my life. It was incredible. That was like the second time I got to meet him, and that was great. So what happened? So again, I'm not going to say who, but I had a relative that after that night, we got back from the concert. And you know what they said to me? They said to me, man, PJ, you sound so good, because PJ is my family name. You sound so good. I think you play better than Wynton Marsalis. Or something like that. Maybe he didn't exactly say that, but he did say, like, you probably play as good as him or better than him, something. My reaction was so bad. It was obviously I was a teenager, but still I had a bad reaction. My reaction to that was, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. Like something like that, basically. Like, you can't say that. I'm nowhere near as good. I was kind of not violent, but I was aggressive about my rejection of that idea. I hated it because, like, it's the reverse thing, the reverse lesson of humble that you have to learn in that situation, which is that you need to understand that other people are seeing your feats and your achievements, something that either they couldn't do or are not able to do, or they just understand the process that it takes to get good at something, and they just want to give you a compliment because they want to show you and let you know how much they appreciate the time you put in, and that's nice. So the positivity you can go up from the place. It's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to be. So the lesson I learned in that, after many years of thinking about that, and my mom had to pull me aside and say, like, hey, they were really like kind of hurt about how you reacted to that, which was kind of bizarre to me because I thought, oh, they should be the ones that's hurt because they said a lie to me. This is going on longer than I wanted it to be. But the point is that what I learned in that instance, right? What I learned from that point on was that what you say to yourself every day, and this is something you've seen in other types of videos about affirmations, right? In any type of field. Does not have to just be jazz or music, right? Any type of affirmation you give yourself every day is something that you create for yourself. So the more that you're telling yourself these things in real life, because you can think it, right? You're thinking it, but the more you say it to other people and into yourself, you start creating it. You get used to feeling like that. If every time someone gives you a compliment and then you say, nah, man, I'm not good. I'm still practicing. I'm still whatever. You're creating that for yourself, regardless if you know or not. Because I'm gonna tell you one thing: if you're saying that and you don't believe it, we're gonna get to that in a second. I got words about the fake jazz humble, which we're gonna get to after this. But yeah, if you're saying that and you don't actually believe it, well, then that's another problem you have to address. It's kind of weird, But like I said, we're not getting to that yet. What we're talking about right now is how you can kind of create the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you keep telling yourself that you're bad, you will 100% create that for yourself. And then you'll wonder why, even if you're practicing, you can't get better. Well, you got to appreciate those small victories. Each time, if you can't play a scale, let's say even in the beginning, right? You got to learn 12 major scales. Let's say there's like a scale competition. I don't know. Let's make something up. You got to play all 12 major scales. You learn 7. And then somebody comes up to you and like, man, you play your scales great. Nah, man, I only know 7. Man, you learned 7 scales. Congratulations. That's more than none. That's more than 2. That's more than 6. Learn the rest of them. That doesn't, just because you have more to learn, doesn't mean you haven't learned anything. So you got to appreciate that. And a lot of people don't do that, and it harms you. It's going to continue to create a negative force and presence in your mind, and it's going to make it harder to improve. I'm telling you. So I guess it's a good exercise. You're probably wondering, well, how do I be humble and also like have confidence in myself? Well, the way I think about humility is that I know that there's always going to be a possibility that somebody is better than me. No matter how good I get, no matter what I can do, no matter how many y'all are transcribing after you've gone. Yes, I see that. No matter how many y'all are giving me kind of constant like reaffirmations, whatever, confirmations or whatever, right, of my ability and what I'm doing to inspire you all, no matter how many hits or clicks or numbers, I know that there's always somebody that's going to come up and sweep. All y'all transcribing me are going to come up and sweep me. And that's fine because it's not a competition. We're all just trying to get to our own personal musical goals in life. So if you keep that in mind, if you just say, I like music. If you just say, I like music, this is something I want to do, and this is where I'm trying to go. if you keep that in mind, you will also start to understand that other people like music too, and that's why they're giving you a compliment. So my advice to you is just to understand where you are in the universe and just keep pushing. But also understand that you've accomplished a lot. From the day that you first played music, from the day you first put the instrument in your mouth or the in your hands with the guitar or like, the sticks in it, whatever. As soon as you play one note, it's going to sound cheesy, but y'all got to take the cheesiness because sometimes it's important. From the time you play one note to the second note, you now know two notes. Then you play four notes. You're always making improvement. It sounds cheesy, but we need more stuff like this nowadays because people just don't really think about it. So that's how I feel about that. Take it how you will. So now again, this video went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but I want to take a little bit of time to talk about what I call the fake humble or jazz humble, as I call it. This is just as pervasive, and this is kind of me calling some people out because, and again, I'm not trying to be mean, but there's a certain subsection, right? A certain demographic of conservatory kids or students in general, or just people who are not going to conservatory that maybe are just good, just naturally good. And something that they don't really, I don't know, I'm going to give y'all some insight because this is not something people talk about because, the 1% of the 1%, that's something that usually is almost like a hidden world. A lot of times, a lot of people outside of that kind of, big music school, I don't want to name any names, but the big music schools, right? A lot of people don't really know inside or out that it is a bubble, right? Even people within it don't really understand that it is this kind of small world, right? And coming from one of those conservatories, I can definitely tell you it is a small world. So as a result, there's a lot of lessons that we don't get because people don't know how to teach us. People don't know. So as someone who lived that life, let me give y'all a little bit of a reality check. This jazz humble stuff need to stop. I'm just saying it right now. The reason why I say it is because it is just as pervasive and just as harmful to me as the type of humble attempt when you have no confidence in yourself. The same thing can happen when you have too much confidence in yourself and you're just saying these things to make people feel comfortable around you. And again, this is not me calling out to be mean. This is me trying to help you understand that I know how that feels. I know how that feels, man. Sometimes you might be doing something where people around you don't understand, or like you might be good, right? And you have to navigate this weird social landscape, this weird social kind of dynamic where you have to find a way to fit in with everybody else so that they don't see you as an outcast. Because you can get outcast for being good. It happens. It happened to me, and I know some people it might still happen. Otherwise, we can only be around other freakish people, right? And I get it. It sucks. But I think one thing you got to be careful of is to not say anything that's not true, right? That's the number one thing. Let's just not say stuff that's not true. So if you're really good, right, and you can really play your instrument, and if somebody tells you sounded great, right? This is something we're not taught. We're not taught this in school. No one says, hey, if you're a freakish talent and you're a prodigy, you're going to have to learn how to say these things. No one teaches us what to say or how to do. So allow me to help you out and navigate this. If you're really, really good and you're kind of this prodigy cat and you can play better than everybody at 17, or 22, whatever, however old you are, don't say, nah. Don't say, nah, I can't play. Don't say that. It's too many of y'all that can play to say that. First of all, that's not giving a good image to other people about you, and it's not giving yourself a good image. Because, again, I'm going to say it one more time. If you're a cat that really does believe that you can't play, that's one thing. And, again, it's not good, but at least it's more innocent. If you know you can play and you're telling other people that you can't play, I'm mad at you. I'm just straight up mad because you're lying. And it's kind of like a jerk move to do that. So just don't do that. You know what I'm saying? The best thing you can do if you're one of the prodigy cats and somebody tells you can play, say thank you. And I'm really grateful to be where I am. That's basically it, man. That's kind of what I tell people because that's how I feel. I do feel like that whatever I was able to get as a gift that allows me to learn faster or to see things differently or hear things faster, whatever, or see the bigger picture more than the average person can. You don't have to go around and brag about it. You don't have to go out and brag, but you shouldn't lie about it. People, like, talents that we have, right? Talent, not that we have, but the talents that we see in the world, like geniuses, right? In history, we should be treating geniuses of today in jazz the same way that we treat geniuses of the past. You don't want to just talk about these people when they're gone. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about them now. So I think we should be allowed to freely express any type of talent, genius, intellect, whatever, insight into music that we have so that other people can learn from that and we all elevate each other up. Because there are certain things that certain cats, I could list off some names. Some prodigies and geniuses that y'all need to be following right now, right? That you should be talking about and checking out. There's a lot of young cats out there that, like, you know, when you tell them that they sound good, great. And if these cats, people like them, should accept that and be like, thank you so much for recognizing that. You know, I'm going to keep working so I can be even better. That's humble. You don't have to be like, nah, I'm still not. I don't know who taught that. I don't know where this came from, but I want to be here to stop it. I'm so tired of it. I don't know where it came from, but I don't know. I've been talking a little bit too long on this. I just wanted to talk about how I felt about this call yourself bad thing and why I think it's something that is gonna continue to harm the jazz community if we keep allowing it to happen, not just from the outside but from the inside. So I hope that meant something to you. I hope that if this is something that you deal with yourself, that you have the, I don't know, insight or courage to maybe try to move past it. Or if you're someone that just sees it on the outside, like you're a person that gives compliments to people and doesn't know why they are saying, nah, they're not good. Hopefully you can also understand why they might be feeling that way. Because this is not like a bad thing. This isn't about calling somebody out and saying that you're bad. This is the opposite. I want to do the opposite. I'm not calling people bad. I want people to understand that we all have a path and a place that we're going, and that we should be appreciative of each little step on that way. And I think if we do that, man, we'll be all right. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I could say about this. And again, sorry, this is a little unorganized. I was kind of just gabbing, but that's what real talk is about for me. I know a lot of people going to say the video's too long, I can't watch it. Sorry, but this is just on my mind and I'm very passionate about it. And this is just the beginning of what it can be. So if you got any other thoughts about that, go ahead and leave in the comments below. I don't like doing any kind of promotion or stuff on videos like this, or kind of like my ending tags, like the video, subscribe, what, you know, I'm not going to say any of that stuff right now. I'm just going to say that if this video meant something to you, please let me know, and also share it with other people. If there was things I got inaccurate, or maybe I was too mean, whatever kind of stuff, I read your comments and you know I engage. So let me know, and I would love to talk more about what you have to say about this topic, and hopefully we can encourage a lot more positivity in the world of jazz and classical music, all types of like skill-based practicing arts music. And just overall have a healthier community where we can be supporting each other and not feel so afraid of people that are talented. But that's basically it, y'all. Take care, and I'll see y'all in the next video.